Good evening, America. Welcome to the first episode of The Political Divide with your hosts, J.R. Shapiro and Tyler Guthrie. We're here today to talk about the political candidates and, of course, more so about Kamala Harris and a lot of her wrongdoings over the past 20 years. I think it's important for people to understand that we're going up against a different type of candidate this time, and during her vice presidency, she's already proven quite unremarkable. Now, when we talk about a few key points, there are some graphs that you're going to be shown which are going to go over her popularity as vice president. You can see that she is one of the lowest polling amongst all of her peers and set a historical record for being the all-time low worst vice president. You can also see here that there's a lot of different things surrounding all kinds of news sources that are going to basically comment and say that she's the best thing ever, she's polling super high, but that's just simply not true. Recent polls have shown Donald Trump is still ahead of her by quite a few points, and I think that that'll only continue to escalate as time goes on as the hype of her kind of entering the election dies down. Now, some other key points. We've seen time and time and again that they're going to deny that she had anything to do with the border. Now, that's just simply false. She was appointed border czar, which they say isn't a position that exists, and continued to try to relabel that and call it different things and readdress her roles. But we all heard it first back in 2021 when Joe Biden announced that she was going to be, ahead of the border and dealing with all that stuff. And it turns out that she didn't even visit it until, over a month in. And then even then, seldom ever visits the border, but definitely made time to visit more vacation-friendly spots, shall we say. There's a lot I could say overall, but really, just take a look at your bank accounts, take a look at your wallets, go to the grocery store, see what everything costs, because I can tell you, with all this inflation and all these crazy things happening, we're dealing with an absolute crisis in the making, and she plans to not only continue it, but put it full throttle for the next 4 years, which would undoubtedly break the backs of many Americans just trying to get by, many working class like myself, those with families. So we really need to take a look as a whole and figure out what's going on in America and who the best candidate is. Now, if we take a look at Donald Trump as a whole, there's no doubt he's abrasive, but one could argue we need that in our country. We're on the brink of a nuclear war. We're facing almost a second depression. Things are not looking great if we have another Biden/Kamala presidency. You can sub out whoever you want in that regard, but either way, it's going to be catastrophic results. Now, if you ask me, Kamala Harris is infinitely worse than Biden for quite a few reasons. She's one of the most far left senators that exists, period. A lot of her policies have included locking people up for marijuana. Over 2,000 people were incarcerated due to marijuana, like not big charges at all. And then she herself laughed when she was asked if she ever smoked pot. So it's a person like this that you don't want in the White House. I could go on. She freed Black Lives Matter rioters, which then went on to kill, an innocent man and his children. So these types of things we have to look at as a whole and look at the record. During Trump's 4 years, my family absolutely flourished, both economically, socially. Everything was going well. Aside from pandemics and stuff like that, all things aside, the cost of goods was down, jobs were good, money was good. Even though I made less at the time, I felt like I had access to more. And under this current presidency and under all these current Democrats, it's become apparent that they don't care about the American people. Now, there's a lot of controversies kind of surrounding how she became into, the 2024 presidency race. So, unlike Joe Biden, she hasn't gotten the votes necessary in order to even compete. So that's one of these things, too, where the Democratic Party has consistently taken liberties of its own to kind of do things like this, completely out of left field. And the people feel kind of cheated, because, I mean, there were millions of votes for Joe Biden that were completely just disregarded as he dropped out of the race. Do those people not count? And that's one thing we've got to think of consistently when it comes to, like, which party is doing what. Who's looking out for you and your family, who's putting money in your wallet, who's lowering taxes, who's keeping us out of World War III, who's defending our borders and keeping us safe from fentanyl dealers and record number of cartel. These things are all happening every day. I live in Arizona, and I can tell you, as a border state, we see illegal immigration as a huge threat, just simply because it comes directly through your backyard. And I'm sure that those other fellow border states would agree with me in that this is a huge threat, not only to our families, to our way of lives, to our economies. They bring things in here that we just simply don't want. And I'm all for, immigration for those people who want to go through the process and become a proper American. Just like any country, we have the ability to offer someone citizenship if they're willing to go through the steps, and it shouldn't be an easy process to go through that. Nowhere you go is it ever going to just be an easy process when it comes to entering the country and becoming a citizen. But at least we give you the opportunity here to earn at a higher rate. At least we give you the opportunity to be safe and the opportunity to grow your own business, but you have to go through the proper steps. And I think that's important to state. Kamala Harris, under her watch, she has let a record number of illegals breach our borders. This puts all of the states at risk when it comes to illegal immigration and spits in the face of those people who have gone through the arduous process of becoming proper U.S. citizens. I, for one, think it's time that we tighten down the borders in order to secure our futures or protect our kids. There's a fentanyl epidemic, and a lot of that is coming from the border. We have to protect our youth. We have to protect people who are dying from this stuff day in and day out. I think I'm just going to say a couple quick last tidbits of information here. So, a couple of things about Kamala Harris's record. She freed Black Lives Matter protesters, and essentially what that person did when they were freed directly by her money is they went and killed an innocent family. Not only that, but a few of the others also went on to commit a host of other crimes. On top of that, she held people past their sentences in order to get free labor for, that particular state and that particular prison. On top of that, she held people on death row and even had evidence to exonerate them and didn't give it up until she was forced to, because she would have had to say, sorry guys, I was wrong. She can't seem to do that because she's a political snake who constantly sheds her opinion to fit the popularity of the vote. Depending on what the popular opinion is, you can look back many, many years and see this change and change and change more than a person changes clothes, because you can't trust what she says because she's just going to lie to you, just like every other politician. The difference is Donald Trump is not a politician. He's a businessman. He wants to make America great. He wants to make it safe. And, I say we let him. Judging on the last 4 years versus Kamala Harris's last 4 years, I would say it's a night and day difference. The economy was a whole lot better. People were happier. It was a whole lot different. Nowadays, you see so much division. You see so many people who are just completely devoid of hope because they can't afford groceries, they can't afford rent, and they have good jobs. That shouldn't be happening. If you work hard, everything should be possible. And right now, it's almost like you have to work 3 jobs just to get by on their current economic profile. Everything that they're putting for the American people, it's hurting us. It's causing us to suffer the most. Maybe if you're wealthy, you don't feel it. But I can tell you, a father of multiple kids, it's hard to see how much everything costs. And if I want a good future for my family, now I have to absolutely break my back doing so. And before, I could work 50-60 hours and get ahead on my bills. Now that's just to make ends meet. So it's becoming a problem that we have a security risk, we have an economic risk, and not only that, but we can't trust a word she says. She just spent the last couple years lying about the president's deteriorating health, saying he's the fittest he's ever been, and now look, they pulled the old switcheroo. I want to thank you all for tuning in and hearing what I have to say. Now, whether you're left or right, I want to make it very clear, all I see is red, white, and blue. God bless you, God bless your families, and God bless America. We'll see you again soon.